Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be a pretty epic video because it's new bike day.
Hustle every day, yeah, I'm stacking up my goals. Life through the dice, but I'm back in control. Friends by my side, got the fam, got the team. Catch me riding to the top, living life like a dream.
You guys might be asking, this doesn't look like much of a bike. And to be honest, you guys are not totally wrong. Today we're going to be restoring this 2020 Norco Optic. And to get into a little bit of what is wrong with this bike, we got to dive a little bit closer.
So I just wanted to clarify what the issue was since I didn't do the best job explaining it here. So basically what happened is the internal tube delaminated and it seems to be due to a bad epoxy bond. So what I plan to do is buy a new carbon tube, since as you can see here, the tube is worn on the outside due to coming loose and just moving around freely. I think this bike was just a dud because so many of you guys love this bike and I've yet to see this issue online.
What we are going to do now is we're going to take this bike apart completely. So that means taking all the pivots off, we'll take the shock off, we'll take the fork off, we'll keep the seat in because I need to be able to wash this somehow. So yeah, this is going to be my new trail bike. This one has gotten tons of reviews and people rave about this thing. And so I'm really stoked to test it, to be able to actually own and ride one. I got a really good deal on this bike from my friend Matt at Vincent Speedworks. If you guys haven't heard of Vincent Speedworks, I actually made a video not too long ago on burnishing. So he's the one who actually burnished those bushings. If you guys don't know what burnishing is, I'll leave a link in the description down below. It's a very nice way of adding some extra performance to your fork for not a ton of money. We should get into tearing this thing down, getting all the parts off of it. Well, then we can get to actually restoring this thing, and then the fun part, building it up as a full bike and testing it out. Let's get to it.
So I thought this was going to be a super easy fix, but we came to the conclusion that we are going to need to build some sort of jig to hold this carbon tube in place. The reason for this is that the hole has quite a lot of play, which means getting it in there where it's not cocked would be very hard by eye. So we built a jig using the lathe and the mill to make sure that it is as precise as possible. The jig is mounted to the top pivot to ensure it's aligned with the rear triangle of the bike. Because remember, if it's off by a couple of millimeters, it could change the geometry of the bike. So this is crucial that it's as straight as possible.
Do we still want to put grease on this?
I think you'll be okay. I think you're good.
All right. Sick. Boom. So that should be dry or hardened in like 24 hours.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it has been 24 hours since we epoxied the inner tube on the frame. And so now it's time for the fun part where we build up this frame into a bike. So sadly, I'm not going to be able to build the whole bike up today because I'm still waiting on some parts. So we're going to only get to some of it today. And then before we get started, I definitely wanted to show you guys what parts I'm going to be putting on this bike because I've only showed you a couple of them and I've gotten a lot more parts since then. So let's get into that real quick. So right here we have the wheels, and these wheels I got on Facebook Marketplace for a really good deal. I got them for 500 bucks for the wheel set, and they are laced to some Industry 9 Hydra Hubs. And then they are laced to some DT Swiss EX511 wheels. For those of you that don't know, I run these wheels on my personal enduro bike. Yes, they are actually quite overkill for this bike, but the deal was just too good to pass up. And you guys might be asking, why didn't I just use a different wheel set that I had lying around? Well, sadly, they were all mullet, and this bike is a 29er, so I didn't have the wheels to put on that bike, so that's why I had to buy a new wheel set. And what we have on the wheels for rubber is a Maxxis Aggressor in the rear. And then we have a Maxxis DHR2 for the front. And you guys might be asking, why am I running a rear tire on the front? Well, these DHR2s are actually great for a front tire. The knobs are good and they just corner really, really well. So I decided to get this combo because the guy was selling this combo for $40. So I got these used for 40 bucks. They have tons of life on them. But we're trying to keep this build pretty cheap because I don't have endless money. Please subscribe. And so now we got the bin of all the smaller stuff. We are going to be running a XT drivetrain. So we're going to be running the XT Derailleur and we're going to be running the XT Shifter. So this is going to be a kind of a mixed set because we're actually not going to run a full Shimano setup. We're actually going to be running a SRAM GX cassette and cranks and then a SRAM chainring with a SRAM chain. This way we can get around that microspline creak. There's a common issue with Shimano stuff where people end up developing a creak in the rear cassette on these Shimano microsplines. So I decided to get around that by getting a SRAM cassette. Obviously I don't have the cassette here because I don't have all the parts yet. And then for saddle, I'm just going to run the saddle I always run, which is the Specialized Bridge comp saddle in the 43 millimeter wide variation. I like this saddle, it feels really good on my bum, and that's all that really matters. Okay, then you guys might be asking about the brakes. For those of you that don't know, I run Hayes Dominion A4s, and those are great brakes, but this time I wanted to keep it cheap, so we're actually going to be running a Shigura setup. So not just Shimano, we're going to be running Magura calipers with a Shimano lever. So these are the SLX. I was given this one for free because the caliper was broken, so perfect for my application. And so I figured I'd just use SLX, only one less adjustment, and I can switch it out later if I need to. We have a Manitou Mara Pro shock. I have had zero experience with Manitou at all, but I've heard really, really good things about their suspension. And so my buddy Matt was cool with including this shock. It already has mounting hardware and everything with the Norco. So I decided, hey, why not? I should try it out. All right, and then lastly, of the parts I have here, we have the Rockshox Pike, and it was a Select Plus, but it's actually got a push damper installed. So this is going to up its performance by quite a lot. And then he also burnished the bushings of the bars and stem. I wanted, again, trying to keep this build cheap. So I ended up taking a set of bars and a stem that I already had that I took off my dad's Canyon e-bike. So we put those on there, and then just an old set of ODI long necks because those are the grips I really, really like. And then lastly, on the bike itself, we're running a Crank Brothers 175 millimeter dropper post. Again, he included this with it, and then it also came with a saddle, but we're going to take the saddle off and put that other saddle on. All right, so as you guys can see here, this is the inner tube that we replaced, and I just wanted to mention how I glued it in, just for those of you that might have this bike and have this issue. I forgot the dimensions exactly for this tubing, but I'll leave it down in the description down below. It was really, really cheap on Amazon. It's just some carbon tubing that's pretty standard, and so I used that because I didn't want to use the old one because the old one was worn out. It also might have been contaminated with grease. For those of you that don't know, carbon can absorb grease and affect the performance of the adhesion. So I would recommend getting a new tube if this did happen to you. What I used was 3M Scotch weld to get this seated in there. That's the epoxy I used, at least. And I heard really good things that it's a really, really good epoxy for this type of stuff, and so that's what I used. And so I also wanted to explain this monstrosity right here. The original plan was to use the Scotch weld and mix it in with carbon. As you can see here, this is all carbon, but it seems that it would have just wiped right off. It would have made it really, really structural, but it would have wiped right off, and so we decided against this and just use the regular Scotch weld. It looks like this. Is obviously hard, but it looks like this, and so we ended up just using just that. Should be good enough. If not, I'll update you guys. But yeah, that's about it. Let's get into the build montage. Aha! Me has used my smarts and fished a smaller wire. Cable tunnel, so boom. Got it through. So now we can continue with the slightly easier part. A little tip for those of you that have a hollow frame that has internal cable routing, I would highly recommend using this stuff right here. It's pretty much Nerf dart sized foam that you run along your cables inside your down tube or your rear triangle. That's going to eliminate most of the cable rattle that you end up getting inside your down tube or your rear triangle. So again, I'd highly recommend using this stuff. Link in the description to this specific stuff, but you can find alternatives out there as well. Back to the video.
On the block with the tape in the deck, beat bumping heavy, got the bass in check. Back when life was simple, just beats and rhymes. No screens in my face, just the streets and signs. Rocking baggy jeans, gold chain swinging low. Got in trouble in the city where the lights glow. From the stoop to the stage, I got a story to tell. From the school of hard knocks, I was ringing the bell.
So there you guys have it. That is my trail bike done and complete. And one thing I did want to mention before I end off the video is that I did end up changing one thing off camera. What I ended up changing was the dropper post. There was nothing wrong with the Crank Brothers dropper post. It was just a little too big for my height and the bike size with the crank length that I had. So I ended up going with a Oneup V3. They have the shortest insertion length on the market, and I was able to pretty much slam this thing all the way down, which I really like on my bikes. And so this was a no-brainer for me since I already needed a new dropper post because it was too tall to begin with. And that was pretty much everything that I changed on this bike as of now. And in terms of the epoxy bond, I've had around 7 rides on it, and so far so good. So I would say that it was probably a win, and I would highly recommend using this stuff if you guys are having similar issues. I can't really say too much about the bike yet because I have a limited amount of rides on it so far. So be sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on the review video. I'll probably be coming out with one of those in around 6 months, and then maybe a bike check closer to 3 months or so. I already have parts on order to be swapping out on this bike because I've already found things that I dislike about my cockpit setup or anything like that. So I will be having a bike check video coming out soon. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that. And yeah, I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, please drop a like down below. And if you're having an issue similar to this, please leave a comment down below. And if you have any questions, again, leave a comment down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. And remember guys, full send or no send.